All right, everyone. Pornhub has been effectively blanket banned by PayPal. That is, anybody that's got an account through PayPal who's made money, I guess, wagging their dick on camera or whatever, they've been banned. This is interesting because for the most part, these tech firms, there's outcry from the right because they're banning, some person self-proclaimed ethno-nationalist, a libertarian, or whatever. It's a lot for political speech or satire. It's related to sociopolitics. They told an offensive joke or something, in other words. Here, though, you have exactly what I proclaimed would happen, which is this is just the beginning of them going after people who are perceived of as on the left. Now, porn, of course, is not a left-right thing, but they are increasingly going to crack down on other things that they find obscene. Indecent gun manufacturers have been cracked down on by payment providers. They're going to keep doing that because the whole idea was to frame the debate over censorship as a partisan thing. Make it look so lopsided that only one group of people complains about it, knowing full well PayPal and Visa and all these other groups, they knew that people would boil it down to a football game. Once the football game begins, then you can threaten everyone's livelihoods. Porn producers, left-wing advocates, activists with the ACLU, maybe some Greenpeace activists or something, under the same auspices that you've been doing it to the right, and people on the right will actually cheer. I'm seeing some of the people that bitch loud and long about some content creator who said the N-word getting banned off of everything in the entire world, all of a sudden are cheering because this happens to involve porn. My own feeling is, why is anything being banned? Look, the left that's lamenting this, they fought for net neutrality so that ISPs wouldn't be able to throttle and censor and fuck around with bandwidth. But they have no problem if the ISPs are serving websites that do the same thing, that throttle and ban and suppress and treat people differently based on their views or based on their perceived economic viability. They have no problem if the platforming sites for independent websites like a registrar do that. They have no problem if financial institutions are enabled to do that. It's very interesting until it involves porn. I think maybe that says something about these people's proclivities. Now, don't you, to be quite clear, I do not support this at all. Porn is legal. It should remain legal. If it involves consenting adults, making material, it should be made. It's nobody else's right. What's the difference between that and somebody hosting the file themselves anyway? Pornhub is basically just the YouTube of porn. That's not problematic. There's literally no problem to be had with this. If you don't like it for moral reasons, you think porn is evil or degenerate or lowers your testosterone or whatever, don't watch porn. It's as simple as that. It's called being a mature adult. Immature people ask for the state to do it for them, to nanny them, to spank them when they're a bad boy. They get some sort of weird masochistic pleasure out of this. Many people on the right do this with regards to mud degeneracy bullshit, and it's always a bullshit argument, and I would love to debate some people on that. And people on the left like to do it with mud degeneracy, basically 2.0, which is my hate speech, you told an offensive joke 5 years ago, oh, wrong thing, we need to ban you. It's no different. It should all be opposed. It's very sad to see some people cheering this on who normally they're very much against censorship. Well, you're not really against censorship then. You're only against censoring your own views or censoring things that you happen to like. You don't watch porn, you'd think it's icky or something, so you don't have a problem. Well, then you're not advocating free speech and free expression. What you're really advocating is controlled speech and expression. You're just saying that you should be the one that's controlling it. This is the problem. This is why I don't consider myself a conservative, by the way. Because so many of these people roll over backwards. They'll literally say PayPal is the devil because they kicked some right-wing pundit off last year. But in the same sentence, will praise them for kicking off mud degeneracy by not payment processing. By the way, Subscribestar is a thing, and probably Pornhub should consider working with them. I think they already work with some foreign porn firms anyway. And they've platformed a lot of us who have been, hazarded in some method by Patreon and similar sites. Like, I'm welcome on Patreon because my views aren't, I guess, extreme, but I make less money there because in the wake of Sargon being banned, guess what? When you've got a large overlap in your fan base with somebody else's and they get fucked by a site, some of those people leave out of principle. I would have too, except that, of course, I wasn't at fiscal leisure. That's increasingly becoming not the case. There may come a day, thanks to Subscribestar existing and thanks to cryptocurrency, where I don't even have to use Patreon and I'd say fuck them. I already stopped using PayPal a year or so ago, out of principle partially, and out of an understanding that it wasn't necessary for me to use it either. I thought you can't even use it on Amazon. You can on eBay, but you can also just plug your own info in there and fucking go. It's literally one extra click. Oh my god. It's such a terrible time. It's so difficult to navigate the internet without PayPal. Oh my goodness. There are other alternatives for websites as well. Well, they're going to have to be utilized anyway at some point. We need to start taking a harder stance against censorship. Not just censorship of things that we explicitly enjoy or things we explicitly support. Like, I don't go around and do, like, porn stuff. Some people, by the way, still think I'm that cross-dresser from Italy, Churro Strap, who ejaculates on his own face. I don't think he has any info on Pornhub anymore. I thought that was funny. I don't really get interested in it, but others should be able to use it. It's just like there are plenty of people on the left that they're like, oh, this is a terrible day because Pornhub got deplatformed. By the way, I agree with you. It is a terrible day. It's a sad day for free expression. Yes, porn is a form of expression. It is explicitly protected by the First Amendment. Fucking fight me over it. That being said, they identify some speaker that they think is racist, sexist, or whatever, homophobic, and they refuse to defend them when they're deplatformed. It's like that old argument, because I've been on both sides of this paradigm. A decade and a half ago, when I would go online, or like a decade ago, and talk about politics and stuff, a big part of it was fighting for gay equality. And so I would do that, and I'd say, no, I believe that they should be able to express themselves. Yes, they should be able to protest. They should be able to get a state marriage and so forth. They should be equal under the law. In a civic structure, moral arguments aside, should be equal. They should not be suppressed based on their beliefs or their activities as long as they are lawful and consensual. I was called far left, and oftentimes people would insinuate that I was gay because of this, because I was fighting for gay people to be able to do that. Now, because I primarily have to fight off censorship that regards people like Nick Fuentes or something, all of a sudden now I'm a far-right extremist Nazi. These things, of course, cannot coexist. You can't be a far-right, far-leftist. It doesn't make any actual logical sense. What it makes me is interested in freedom. I see the same shitty arguments being made now that were being made then. They're made by both sides of the spectrum because basically most people aren't interested in free speech. They're interested in policed speech. They just don't want their own speech policed. It's what it boils down to. I think it's sickening. I think that anyone that calls themselves a patriot while expressing such views is a little bit funny in the head. Porn is explicitly legal. Obscenity, indecency, and degeneracy. Dude, people have been saying that forever. Like, some people are like, oh, haha, porn now is so much worse. Dude, have you seen some of the porn from the Victorian era, dude? Some of the weird shit they were looking at, peep shows back then? Jesus, some of it's beyond the pale. The flapper era, the 1920s, or even the prior, like the artsy period, and some like Paris Commune sort of a thing. Way crazier, way more... obviously degenerated, blasphemous in many cases than mainline porn today. Most of it today involves someone's masturbating or people are having sex. Maybe it's a three-way. That's really out there, by the way. Oh, don't talk about that. It's not allowed anymore. Yeah, it's at some point, what, is YouTube going to ban people from talking about porn? You know, you can have like birthing videos and breastfeeding and stuff like that, but is it going to ban people from talking indecently about the human genital system or something? Probably will. As the paradigm goes now in the other direction, and authoritarianism increasingly is a right-wing thing, which we've gone through before, I'm going to oppose it just the same. So, yeah, just a key to people 5-10 years from now, when people call me a fucking commie or far left because I'm fighting off additional waves of censorship, it's not because my views have changed, it's because the Overton window has shifted and the right wing has become more authoritarian. Which is what I've warned them against, what I predicted would happen, and again, as well, predicted that the tech firms would start cracking down on content left-wing or perceived as left-wing or left-wing involved, like porn. Porn tends to be targeted more by moralists on the right than moralists on the left. They have the left-wing moralists mainly have a problem with political speech. Right-wing moralists have mainly a problem with anti-religious speech of certain kinds, depending on which conservative group. That could be anti-Christian or anti-Jewish, usually. Or porn, basically. Indecent material, as they would call it. Well, you sound like fucking Tipper Gore to me. That's about all. Peace out.